We have given you everything you need. Those are the words I heard last night. I'm going to explain that to you. But let me ask you, have you ever wanted to find a way to discover how to get everything you wanted in your life, how to understand who you are, how to live your life purpose or know that you have one, or how to create a career that is giving you a lot of joy, or how to have the relationships that are supporting you, or how to find your spiritual connection to source, to God, to whatever it might be. But you have been doing that forever and you're still in the same place. And that's because you haven't discovered what I have. Because, see, I was given everything that you need. Now, it was challenging for me to accept that, as it is challenging for all of us, because what we need is always in front of us. It's always in that unknown of who we are, of your evolutionary journey, meaning we each have a life path we're meant to live, and it's going to be different than anyone else's, which is what gives us difficulty because accepting ourselves is the most challenging thing that we do. But it's also the only goal that you have in your life because you were born to bring something into the world and to prosper and to thrive. And the only reason you don't do it is because you don't know who you are and you haven't accepted who you are or you're afraid of it. It's one of those things, and that's all that ever goes on. But you have to understand that's okay because you're always in the process of becoming more. As long as you're alive, doesn't matter how old you are or what you have done before, what you failed at before, what you might have screwed up, none of that matters. It's what do you do today? Because, see, we only exist in this moment. But anyway, when I heard those words last night, I got up because I was just trying to relax. It's a Sunday night. Let me take it easy. But when I hear guidance, I have to act on it. It's that intuition, that we all have. And sometimes we listen to it, and other times we don't want to know it or we run from it. Yeah, I've done all of those. But for 35 years, I decided I was going to listen and I didn't know where it was going to take me. But let me show you the first aspect of this because I have a gift for you. And as you read all of these things that I'm going to show you, and I'll put links also in this video because I want you to have it, because you will understand that everything you experience about yourself is through your consciousness and how that consciousness has been formed. And I will tell you that it is always limited, meaning you haven't seen the other side of who you can become. And that is the life that we all live. That's what we live individually. And it's also what our world moves through. There's a consciousness we each inhabit that we each have, but there's also a collective consciousness, meaning that the world generally perceives to be what is true. But that doesn't always last because, see, the world changes as well as we do. And so as that world changes, then we have to become willing to move with it. And when we don't, then we have difficulties in our lives. But in your individual life, I will tell you that the only difficulties that you have are not understanding who you are and also not becoming willing to take the journey of self-discovery that could explain it to you. But then also, you might have been using some old tools, meaning something that existed before. I was giving something new because we're living at a different time in our lives and in our world. But I'm going to show you the one today because I'd love for you to have it. And as you read it, it'll make sense to you. Let me say this first. Think about when you went to school. You had certain things that you could understand at a particular grade. Then you go to a different grade and you understand more. And you've done that throughout your entire life because it's always the ability to retain and access information and wisdom that causes you to understand things. That's all of us. Now, and not all of us will do that. I'm saying that at a certain point, we can decide that we're going to stop and we're not going to get that higher understanding or wisdom that is always available. And that's what we do individually. And we can also do that collectively, which we will experience and we are experiencing in our world now. But let's go to the first message that I'm going to show you because I have a couple I want you to pay attention to that will give you so much value. And this is the one that came through today. Well, actually, last night, because I was guided to write it last night. There's alignment in the universe. I want you to understand this, and we come to understand this in science. Um, Time is an illusion. Our consciousness always exists. And there's an alignment with the universe, meaning all the energies of the planets and everything that moves on affect us as humans. Now, we don't always come to accept or understand that, but this will give you a little bit of a better idea of that. So when I wrote this last night, it says, the guidance you sought has always been within you, but we helped you hear your higher self when it was time for you to awaken. Due to your restructuring, the energies of your planet today will allow more of you to hear yourselves and get on with manifesting an extraordinary life and world. Now, what that means is that we're all doing that. Nothing's happening in our world that we are not affecting individually and then also collectively. And it's always about energy. That's all that it is within ourselves and our world. Now, I've experienced all sorts of healing because I began to understand energy, and that's what I'm giving back to others. So then if you go through and you will see that every message beginning in 2012, there was a reason for that because that was another shift in our world and in consciousness, and is still going on now. And then you will understand what we were given. There is little to be gained when you attempt to create something and your main focus is on doing it right. We all move through that. Why do we do that? Because we are given something that's unique to do, but we're trying to really hold on to something that was old, that existed in the world at a different time within us, and then also in that collective consciousness. Now is the time we're supposed to move beyond that. And so, what Wilhelm said is that every year, as you read this, you will see that there's a progression in your understanding and acceptance. And you will see, think bigger. That is something that we can each do, but we don't do it because we don't trust ourselves or we think we're imposters or we have these false beliefs. Okay, when you observe this is the best one yet because this will explain what's happening to you and our world right now. When you observe the birth of a newborn, most times they come into the world kicking and screaming. They do this as an expression of their own resistance to leaving a place of safety and moving into an unknown territory. Well, that's what we're all doing. I've been doing it forever, and even doing this video was me moving into an unknown territory because now I've got to tell everybody what this is. Anyway, so then you have been given the gift of contrast. This is so important for everyone to understand now because you're going to look at people in your lives or in your world or whatever and think, these people I don't like them. They're giving me something that's really horrible. And I'm telling you, no, they're allowing you to understand who you are and why you're on the earth. Nobody can tell you that but you. Then you struggle to experience self-determination, and then you struggle to feel you deserve to have self-determination. That's what we do because it's always a progression in accepting who we have become, and it goes over time. And as Wilhelm says, we use linear time. They don't. When I receive messages, I'm receiving them from cosmic consciousness, and that's what makes this different. All paths to empowerment are correct because they are created by the individual who holds them for their specific purposes and reasons, meaning that you have an individual path that you're meant to follow in your life. And so your path is not going to look like anyone else's, but we all have guidance. And this is what I've put together to give people guidance. You had to make it dramatic to capture your attention. That was such a good one. That means that we will put ourselves into such horrible positions in our lives before we start to act on something, before we start to move, because that's how we make it dramatic. And I've done it over and over again, so I do understand it. This time will be different. We say that all the time, but then we don't move. It says, how many times have each of you said that sentence to yourself? And that's what we do. And then we stay in the same place because we're afraid of taking the next step. And then you were born to discover your worth. And this started in 2020. And that's when I knew that our world was changing and all of the messages started changing. And that's when I was made aware of the work that I was given, the philosophy. Okay, all your opinions matter. As you read each of these, you will understand that over time, you're going to feel quite different just by reading these. And then think about if you were to do it every day, if you were to work with your consciousness every day, what could possibly happen? And then it just repeats things because now we come back to last year on this date, we were told you were born worthy. Now that's true for every single individual. There's no one who has any less than another. It's all in how we choose to perceive ourselves. But we must understand that those perceptions have been formed by everything that existed before, everything that existed in our individual life path, and also that collective one. But now we're at a place where we're supposed to move beyond it. You will hear in all of the messages that I've received in all of the channeling sessions, if you listen to those, you will hear that I talked about the changes, or I received the information about the changes in our world, and a lot of them would be happening in the United States, which is why we're seeing all this energetic shift in the United States. And one of the messages talks about the political aspect of it. And so we have to understand that we're going to have different opinions, ideas about everything because that's part of our evolutionary path. But when we can't own ours and love what they are and give others permission to do the same thing because they're just on a different path, but we can understand that, then we live the lives that we're meant to have. And then the other benefit of that is you heal. And I'm saying this because that's exactly what this work has done for me. And if you go to my website, rogerburnley.com, and read all the articles, go back to 2016, you will see that I was given the information to talk about the changes that would be happening, occurring in our world. And though, but if we all decided that we were going to become who we were meant to become and become happy, prosperous, abundant, all of those things, because they're always within you. But then there's another aspect of this. We don't trust ourselves all the time. And I'm saying this because I've done it. So I do see this. When I'm doing a channeling session, either a public one or a private channeling session, I can access any information. Many of you might have seen that because I'm in a different state of consciousness. And so when we understand that we all have those levels that we can move to, we start to see ourselves and the world in a new way. And you hear people talking about ascension or moving to the fifth dimension or all of that. It's the same thing. It's just in your thoughts, in your perceptions. But again, you have to remember they've been programmed, they've been ingrained within you. And as you read those messages, you will understand that. But then you could be afraid of yourself. That's usually what happens, is that we will have an idea about something we're supposed to do, but we think, no, it's not me. I couldn't possibly do it. So then you start to suffer from the imposter syndrome, and because it's not real. You would not have a thought about doing something unless you had the capability of doing it. What you don't have is the belief, and that belief has been blocked from your consciousness due to your individual path. And so when I first received the first message from Wilhelm, it was 1989. And I'm going to show you this one because I also want you to have this, because if you go through it, you will understand the alignment that you have and the alignment of our universe. Nothing's ever out of order. We just figure it out at a different time. Let me find that one for you because I do want you to have it. So the message is February 19th, 2024. But you will see that the very first message, and again, this is another ascension gift showing again how we evolve in our consciousness over time. I just happened to start in 1989. Yes, it is indeed wise for you to realize how powerful you are and also to acknowledge the innate benevolence of your being. You seem to consistently maintain a subtle fear that somehow you would use your power in an ego-oriented way to the detriment of others. The truth for you is exactly the opposite. For the more you gain, you give away. Now, you can go through and read all of this because what happens is it starts with 2008 here. Now, the reason that starts with 2008, that was another dramatic, energetic shift that happened in our world. And at some point, I'm going to go through and explain all of these things, how the connection to us as humans, our planets, and the energies are all connected. When we study the quantum sciences, more people are beginning to understand that. But then you will read through each message and you will see that every year it gives you something a little different and something you will understand because it always grows that way for all of us, where it's no different. So I'd love for you to have this and you will understand so much more. And this is just such a great gift because you will see that as you read them, your brain will change. Your mind will start to change about who you are and what you believe you can accomplish. But there's something more. And I was told that all of this work that I was given was for this time in our world because we were moving through this transition and everyone would be moving through their individual ascension journey. And at times that is challenging and difficult because we have fear and doubt about who we are. And so then when you have an entire world who's moving through the same energetic shift, you can imagine what happens. And that's what's going on now. And for the first 20 years of me receiving this information, I didn't tell anybody what I was doing because it didn't make sense to me. I had to get beyond my disbelief about how this was happening. How am I healing? How am I accomplishing all of these things that I didn't know that I could do? Every single person has that, and our collective consciousness has that awareness as well, which is why we created AI or all these new things that are coming about because humans are doing that. You have something within you that is meant to do the same thing, but we can't do that individually or collectively if we don't let go of what was old within us and what was old within our world. So when I was told that everything is in alignment, and then I'm going to be going back to, I'm doing a big conference in Colorado at Gaia in October. And then my Wilhelm said, well, we gave you a message for that day as well. Didn't seem to make sense, but I'm going to read it to you now because it will help you understand what we're going to experience in our world for the rest of this year, because that's how, again, how I receive information. But let me show you that one because it'll be a head start. And this, I'm going to be talking about this or doing this session. It's going to be for hundreds of thousands of people. This is my introverted self is, I'm ready for it, but it's going to 180 countries that it's going to be channeled. So it's going to be an interesting thing for me. Let me show you what the message is, but I'm going to, everyone will be able to attend the conference for free. And so when we get closer, I'm going to have all that information and I will be able to share it with you all because I do want you to attend so you can hear everyone. If you are a member of Gaia, you can probably go and find that on there, but this is it. And with these four other really, really great people, I'm very excited about it. And it's going to be on October 19th. However, so let me show you the message I was given for that date, but you're going to understand it today because, again, it helps when we have a little head start on what's going on and what I'm going to be talking about. Now, this message will be maybe a little challenging for some of us because I know that we are eternal spiritual beings. So we've had different consciousness, let's call it, that we have all that has always existed. Consciousness doesn't go anywhere. We just have different incarnations that we live. But this is October 19th, and it says, your anger, judgment, and hatred might be old. Every soul is born with embedded beliefs and ideologies that may not serve them now as your planet is moving through a restructuring. We provided a message 3 years ago that will aid you now as you experience more conflict. And so then going back to 2020, as I said, that's when all of the information became of this particular period began to make much more sense, even though I'd been receiving so much more before that. So your pain is not new. You will gain some comfort through this message. And if you are diligent about genuinely desiring to understand what we are about to give you, your life will be easier to traverse. We have said you are currently experiencing a restructuring of the world you knew, which begins with each of you. You decided to be alive to aid in your evolution. It will be different for each of you and the same. We love our cryptic sentences, but that is one you will come to understand. One of Roger's issues has been guilt, and we must say it has been typically artificial guilt, which he could not explain most times. Roger made an error in his email to his family and had horrific guilt episodes that bothered him all night. Last night, we told him to use one of our techniques. Sit in it. We are having an earthquake. Well, that was interesting. I'm going to leave that in. We had an earthquake. It was a 4.7 earthquake, and I'm in California. And I'm just going to wait and see if more happens. We are having more energetic shifts everywhere. And so we haven't had big ones like this in quite a while. And we had one last week too, which was really fascinating. Anyway, I'm going to leave all of that there because I just want everybody to understand energy is fluid and it's moving, and we're all beginning to pay attention. Okay, so we have said you are currently experiencing a restructuring of the world you knew, which begins with each of you. You decided to be alive to aid in your evolution. It will be different for each of you and the same. That's what we mean. Okay. One of Roger's issues has been guilt, and I'll explain that one and I'll tell you why it is, and I'm changing that guilt today. But what we meant by that is at times you do not know the origin of some of the difficulties you experience because they are quite old. We have said you have connections to your ancestors that continually surface for their release. Using our sit in it technique will make sense. We had Roger observe an explanation about climate change that can apply to Roger's condition and your world. You can easily understand the importance of not leaving a child in a hot car. The science has told you that when hot air cannot escape and is trapped inside a vehicle, it will be harmful and kill the child. You have been that child. You placed yourself in the car, allowed the heat to accumulate, and almost killed yourself. You collectively have done it over lifetimes. So apply this analogy to your planet, but using it for yourself will be more helpful. Allow yourself to breathe who you are. And that is probably the most important line of this entire thing is to allow yourself to breathe who you are. It's always that journey into self-acceptance, and every person was born to be able to do that. We just take different paths. My path was to bring in a new philosophy for this time in our world, and the more people who use it, they will live really, really great lives, become the people they're meant to be, up level themselves, and then also our planet. That's what's going on. And so I just really wanted you to have this today. And as you read all the information, and I'll put the links in there, it will change your life. I'm saying that because it changes your consciousness. You will think about yourself in an entirely new way just by doing this. My work takes you through all of it, and it goes on for the rest of your life. And so I'm saying that because on Wednesday, there will be changes, and my program's always going to be open. The only difference is going to be it's going to be a lot more money because I'm putting so much more into it, because it's going to cover you understanding your life purpose, being able to own it, understanding your soul mission, because we all have that. I speak in those terms because that's what Wilhelm has given me, but also understanding the important contribution that you are making in the world. That's something that we don't always get to because we think ourselves as being small. That's never true either. And once you start to accept this, you will start to heal. And those are the things that my life has led me to uncover and discover and build these techniques. And that's what I'm giving back to everyone else. So I'm so glad you're here and you can enjoy this. And please join my register for my and just subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done that. But look at all the information. I'll leave the links and join my community. And if you're ready to get to the next level of your life, then you want to join the program now. All right, you guys, have a great day. And hopefully we won't have any more earthquakes. They're just happening within us is what's happening in our world. But when we love ourselves, we can get through anything. See you soon.